Arctic Circle, the Arctic Ocean, its surrounding seas, and nearby landmasses make up the majority of the polar bear's natural area. It is a hyper-carnivorous bear known as the polar bear, Urus maritimes. Both the largest extant terrestrial carnivore and the largest species of bear currently exist. Adult male boars typically weigh 350 euro, 700 kilograms, 770 euro, 1,540 pounds, whereas adult female sows are almost half that weight. Although it is the sister species of the brown bear, 9, it has evolved to occupy a more limited ecological niche and has developed many body features that are better suited to colder climates, moving across snow, ice, and open water, as well as hunting seals, which account for the majority of its diet. Although they spend most of their time in the water, polar bears are often born on land. Naming and etymology. Transliterated as Anul in the Inupiat language. The bear is also referred to as Narnak in Siberian Yupik by the Yupik. The Chukchi word for the bear is uma. Its common name in Russian is belly of the white bear. However, an earlier term still in use is uk, oshajug, which comes from the Komi Oskin, bear. The polar bear is known as Ars polaker or Ars blanc, white bear, in Quebec, polar bear. The polar bear is known as Sib Ern in the Svalbard archipelago, which is managed by Norway, ice bear. The polar bear was once thought to belong in a separate genus called Thalacots. The foundation of this new genus, however, is not supported by evidence of hybrids between polar bears and brown bears or by the recent evolutionary separation of the two species, and as a result, the official scientific name is now Urus maritimes, as Phipps initially suggested. Taxonomy and evolution. It is estimated that the Ruisdael family of bears diverged from other carnivorans around 38 million years ago. The ursine subfamily first appeared around 4.2 million years ago. A jawbone dating from 130,000 to 110,000 years ago was discovered on Prince Charles Foreland in 2004 and is the oldest polar bear fossil recorded. Fossils demonstrate that the polar bear's molar teeth diverged greatly from brown bears between 10,000 and 20,000 years ago. From a population of brown bears that got separated during a glacial era in the Pleistocene. 5. From the eastern part of Siberia, polar bears are considered to have diverged from Kamchatka and the Kolyma Peninsula. Complexity increases in the DNA analysis evidence. Polar bear mitochondrial DNA, mtDNA, diverged from brown bear mitochondria. But during that time, the two species have sometimes mated. They most likely came into touch as the climate warmed and brown bears traveled north, driving polar bears onto land. The majority of brown bears contain roughly 2% of polar bear genetic material, whereas the ABC Islands bear population has between 5% and 10% of polar bear genes, indicating more recent and frequent mating. In order to create viable grizzly polar bear hybrids, polar bears can marry with brown bears. This does not imply that the two bears have recently undergone genetic divergence, but rather that more frequent mating has persisted over a longer length of time, maintaining their genetic similarity. But because neither species can persist for very long in the biological niche of the other. Population and distribution. The Arctic Circle and nearby landmasses as far south as Newfoundland are home to the polar bear. It still occupies a larger portion of its native territory than any other living carnivore because human activity has not yet reached its isolated habitat. Despite the fact that they are uncommon north of 88°, there is proof that they are present across the Arctic and as far south as James Bay in Canada. Their southernmost range is close to the line separating the humid continental and subarctic climatic zones. Anecdotal reports of sightings as far south as Barive on the Norwegian peninsula and the Kuril Islands in the Sea of Okhotsk indicate that they can occasionally migrate extensively with the sea ice. It is challenging to estimate the world's population. Only since the middle of the 1980s have modern methods of tracking polar bear numbers been used, and they are expensive to carry out regularly across a vast region. Finding polar bears in the Arctic with a helicopter, tranquilizing them with a tranquilizer dart, and then tagging them are necessary for the most precise counts. Some Inuit in Nunavut have seen an increase in recent years in bear sightings near populated areas, which has led to the assumption that populations are growing. In response, scientists have noted that hungry bears may be gathering in populated areas, giving the impression that the population is larger than it actually is. The IUCN Species Survival Commission's Polar Bear Specialist Group maintains that estimates of subpopulation size, habitat, The polar bear is the only living marine mammal with strong, large limbs and feet that allow them to cover kilometers on foot and run on land. Its preferred habitat is the annual sea ice covering the waters over the continental shelf and the Arctic inter-island archipelagos. The polar bear spends many months of the year at sea. In contrast to the deep waters of the high Arctic, these regions known as the Arctic Ring of Life, have higher biological productivity. The polar bear prefers to frequent places where sea ice meets water, such as Polonias and Leads, temporary stretches of open water in Arctic ice, to hunt the seals that make up the majority of its diet. 52. Freshwater is scarce in these regions. Physical characteristics. The Kodiak bear, a subspecies of brown bear, is the only other bear of equal size to the polar bear. Male adult polar bears are 2.4 to 3 meters, 7 feet. 10 and 9 feet. 10 in length and weigh 350 to 700 kilograms, 770 to 1,500 pounds. 56. However, mature males apparently weigh an average of 450 kilograms in the Beaufort Sea, 1,000 lb. Adult females typically weigh 150 to 250 kilograms, 330 to 550 pounds, measure 1.8 to 2.4 meters, 5 feet. 11 and 7 feet. 10 in, and are nearly half the size of adult males. A somewhat higher estimated average weight of 260 kilograms, 570 pounds, for adult females was asserted elsewhere. However, females can weigh up to 500 kilograms while they are pregnant, 1,100 pounds. Polar bears are among of the most. The polar bear has a larger cranium and nose than its closest relative, the brown bear, as well as a lengthier body structure. The legs are stocky, the ears are tiny, and the tail is short, as anticipated by Allen's criterion for a northerly animal. To distribute weight when walking on snow or thin ice and to generate propulsion when swimming, the feet are extraordinarily big, measuring up to 30 centimeters, 12 in, wide in an adult. Small, supple papillae, dermal bumps, that cover the paw pads provide the animal grip on ice. The claws of the polar bear are shorter and stockier than those of the brown bear, possibly to accommodate the necessity of the former to grasp heavy prey in ice. There are claws. Polar bears have excellent insulation thanks to their hide, which can be up to 10 centimeters, 4 in, thick, and their fur. The outer layer of guard hairs, which seem white to tan but are actually transparent, is covered by a layer of thick underfur. Polar bears have mutations in the LIST and AIM1 genes, which are known to affect the formation of melanin, which may explain why this pigment is missing from their fur. Over the majority of the body, the guard hair is 5 (15 centimeters), 2 (6 in) long. From May through August, polar bears progressively go through a mount. However, unlike other Arctic animals, they do not change their coats to a darker color to help them blend in during the summer. Polar bear guard hairs that are hollow.